Hello friends, welcome back to Innovations in Marketing and Marketing of Innovations, and we are going towards consumer behavior. We talked about consumer behavior with reference to innovations in marketing. Now we are thinking in terms of consumer behavior with reference to marketing of innovations, and I would be going for a pertinent kind of a discussion that what are the behavioral elements, why consumers actually go for adapting innovation, and how marketing of innovation becomes easier. So, I am not saying that I am going to give you a formula, but we have chosen some clues for you to understand why consumers adapt innovation and why it is easily marketed many a times, why it is very difficult. What is the marketer's perspective? How do marketers think in terms of marketing of innovations? And we have chosen one paper as the base paper for this whole scenario, but that paper refers to several wonderful researches which have taken place since 1960 to up till recent, and that is a good paper which my team could fetch, and that actually encompasses the researches conducted by the communication experts as well as economists as well as marketing experts and so on, and those researchers definitely have played a very pivotal and important role for us to understand especially marketing of innovation, which is our mainstay. So, and then let me fetch a quote from that paper which we are referring to as far as the whole scenario goes, and let me read a few lines for you here, just to suggest that somehow what marketing of innovation actually looks like when we are talking of this kind of subject with reference to adaptability and with reference to, let us say, marketers perspective and so on. I will I am opening up the text for as far as the whole scenario goes, and you see this paper which I am referring to is written by John T. Gorville, and that is in June 2006, Harvard Business Review, and I am reading from that paper few lines for you, which I liked actually. So, you see, he writes, John T. Gorville writes that more than a century ago, Ralph Waldo Emerson is reported to have said, and what Ralph Waldo Emerson says, quote unquote. Now, under quotes it is, if a man can write a better book, preach a better sermon, or make a better mousetrap than his neighbor, though he build his house in the woods, the man who can do this, though he build his house in the woods, the world will make a beaten path to his door. A very important quote, and definitely so, quote unquote. So, if only marketing innovations were that simple, he wants to emphasize upon the complexities associated with as far as marketing of innovations go, and that I liked. So, I thought that I should be reading it for you. It's probably one of the most important things which I have which we have gone through with reference to this kind of a subject. Now, you see, and the context which we are going to build here is around consumer behavior, theory of diffusion of innovation, which I referred to earlier as well, but and many times I have talked about this theory, sometimes briefly and in different subjects, sometimes elaboratively, and then two of my subjects, product and brand management and integrated marketing communication, also we have touched upon these kind of things. So, but then here it is very important. One, because we would be referring to Everett Rogers here, and Everett Rogers is responsible for this theory. So, we would be talking about this as well, and then consumer adoption patterns, which how consumer adopts several things, why they do that, why they do not do that, then consumer resistance to innovation, and while we are while we would be understanding resistance, we can easily understand adoption as well. You see, and it's wonderful. These intelligent authors, they definitely have a large contribution to they had been making large contributions in the field of marketing and marketing of innovations. But you see, it's a wonderful thing when I read such eminent authors. I realize that they start from this side and then they go to that side, and then they again start from this side and they go to that side, and that makes things easier for us, people like us who are students of marketing, and I am definitely a student of marketing here. This I like basically. So, this slide, if you realize, and this says, did you know, thanks to my team. So, purple was a rare and expensive color to produce in ancient times. Was it? I do not know, I was not aware of this. So, which contributed to its association with royalty and nobility. Creating purple dye was a labor intensive and costly process. The most famous source of purple dye was the Tyrian purple, which was produced from the secretions of a specific type of a sea snail, the Murex snail. It took thousands of these snails to produce a small amount of dye, making purple textiles and clothing incredibly expensive. However, innovations in dye making technology, particularly the development of synthetic dyes, have made purple and other historically rare colors more accessible to a broader population, and probably that would have changed the marketing perspective of colored clothes at large. Very interesting thing. Sometimes we just tend to forget these kind of things, and text reminds us of these kind of elements which have been pivotal, game changing kind of things basically. And that is very interesting, because somehow if you imagine that there would not be such kind of developments, then the colored clothes would have been much expensive and would be lesser in number, as far as when you look at people wearing much different vibrant colored clothes, and then there would be only whites on the street or blacks on the street, and then there would be only washing detergents marketing for only whites, not for colored, and there would have been extremely different kind of a scenario. We just can't imagine that right now. So, now let me talk about few things basically, and let me start from 1960, wherein Everett Rogers talked about so he talked about relative advantage. Now, this is very interesting, and I would be coming back to this, but relative advantage he talked about somehow consumers, with a consumer's perspective, and we would be referring to this. But and you may dwell into the theory, just Google relative advantage theory by Everett Rogers. But here why I marked this basically. So, this was given with reference to somehow with the context of consumers rather than marketers, and the psychological biases which marketing of innovations they have as far as this situation goes. And if you want to go for this kind of detailed theory, then as I said, go for Google, otherwise read the paper, and the reference would be given to you in almost every slide, John T. Gorville. So, but for now, just keep relative advantage perspective in your mind, and then somehow after that different kinds of authors, they have been working on different kinds of things while having a similar backdrop of thought process altogether. So, Rogers talked about diffusion theory as well, and I would be coming back to that, and that was probably in 1962. But as far as the next stage goes, so and Rogers was a communication scholar. So, now in 1989 we see that Jack Netsch talks about or elaborates or demonstrates what William Samuelson and Richard Zachhoser called status quo bias. So, Samuelson definitely, if I am not wrong, won Nobel Prize in economics. So, and status quo bias. So, and then you would realize that somehow these are related to each other. And one more very important thing, status quo bias when we would look at other theories and other progressions. For example, this is 1989, an economist is elaborating upon Samuelson's and Zach Hoser Richard Zach Hoser's perspective through status quo bias. 1990, the very next year, another important contribution in terms of endowment effect was given by Richard Thaler. So, here comes Richard Thaler, again a very important contribution in terms of as far as the whole scenario goes. And you see, they might have been thinking with a different kind of a perspective, they would have been focusing upon different kind of perspective related to their discipline, but somehow John T. Gorville talks about them in a sequence which make lot of which develops a lot of understanding for us basically. And then comes in 2002, it's my favorite, Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman. They talk about loss aversion apart from many other things. So, Kahneman, K for Kahneman, and Amos Tversky, T for Tversky. So, they talk about loss aversion. Now, they are also looking at the similar kind of a perspective through loss aversion logic. Thaler talks about things with the perspective of endowment effect, and Jack Nish elaborates upon status quo bias given by William Samuelson and Richard Zach Hoser. And the story by the author is built starting from relative advantage as far as the whole scenario goes. And I definitely wish for that if somehow you may start understanding on how this relative advantage perspective was built upon. I am trying to find out one line for you if I may be able to, otherwise I have given you the source and please go on as far as yes. So, the author says, and I am reading from the same paper for you, that in 1960s communications scholar Everett Rogers called the concept relative advantage and identified it as the most critical driver of new product adoption. This argument assumes that companies make unbiased assessments of innovations and consumers' likelihood of adopting them. Although theory is compelling, it is agreeable, but then somehow psychological biases were not considered while this progression was proposed by Rogers. He might have his own reasons, he might have his own understanding, and we are just referring to it on a piecemeal basis. So, I would not say that we are not contesting the theory here at all, but you see, this is how the story gets built up. And while we are putting up this whole scenario at large, just keep these sequences or situations in mind, starting from relative advantage perspective to status quo biases explained, to endowment effect, to loss aversion, and then look at this story first, and then we will try to understand how things happen. And this is one of the most contemporary stories and important examples which is going to change the scenario in terms of how people think of jewelry and diamonds, and that is going to become a very different kind of a perspective. And diamonds though would be forever, but would be for everyone, that would be the kind of change in terms of as far as innovation in diamonds process go. Look at this, very interesting. So, synthetic diamonds transforming the jewelry industry. Nowadays I think there is a documentary available on Netflix on the same subject as well, and but here we have given the source Segran Elizabeth 2023, lab grown diamonds are finally having their moment, Fast company, and this the URL is also given. So, being the centerpiece of numerous creations, adorning jewelry sets and reigning as the ultimate choice for engagement rings, diamonds have consistently held a revered position in the jewelry industry, as we all know. You see, diamond people have been looking at diamonds are forever. There are movies on diamonds basically, and I think the name of the movie was Diamonds Are Forever. I do not remember if there was a Bond movie on that, yes. So, however, in recent times established norms have experienced a shift with the introduction of lab grown diamonds, a remarkable innovation stemming from cutting edge technology. This surprising development has paved the way for new markets and shed light on a novelty that challenges the conventions of high-end jewelry and luxury. Practically, the proponents and the people who are involved with this scientific kind of an innovation, they suggest that somehow there is no difference as far as the consumer's perspective. If I am wearing that diamond which is synthetically produced, I would at least, I am talking of myself, I would not mind or would not know what kind of a diamond actually I am wearing, and I would tend to forget that this is mined diamond or synthetically produced diamond basically. And if everyone tends to do that, and there is a huge price difference between both, then it would make a lot of difference as far as the scenario goes. So, a natural diamond on the other hand is an extraordinary entity. Why extraordinary? Because it comprises of entirely of carbon forged under the earth's crust through immense pressure and heat, evolving into precious gemstone over millions of years. That is why it is precious. That is why the people who are possessing such kind of diamonds, they say that we have that kind of a diamond and so on. But now onwards, people like me who can't afford those kind of diamonds would also say that I have that kind of a diamond, although it is synthetically produced. So, yet the primary challenge within the diamond industry arises from the limited availability of these precious stones on earth. The majority of these diamonds are nestled deep below the surface, rendering their extraction a costly and labor intensive endeavor. Throughout history, diamond mining has been marred by exploitative practices, including the use of child labor, forced labor, and we have been hearing of these hearing about these kind of things now and then. Although people have done much on that these claims are diminishing now, but still there are incidents, there are videos which are available on this. So, and we are referring to the source definitely. So, disclaimer, we are not denouncing anything, anyone, any process, we are not against anyone. Notably, armed forces in Africa have used the diamond trade to fund wars, as the paper says. There are stories about that, yes. But nevertheless, we are not concerned about what is happening. There are ill effects related to mining. Mining is not to be promoted at any levels, because extraction beyond a limit from our mother earth is detrimental to almost every process in this world. That should be marked. But then look at the synthetic perspective as far as diamond goes. Natural is rare, but does it really matters? So, ethical concerns are there. We have raised few issues, and there are some there are thousands of researches, UN reports available on these kind of things. Environmental concerns we have, definitely mining is detrimental. Exploitative practices are there, definitely. People won't go for such kind of a labor in terms of mining for those kind of things so easily, if somehow they are not paid exorbitantly, or somehow there is some kind of an obligation. That has been talked about. Several kinds of researches done by economists and labor experts around the world. Lack of transparency of sources are there, high cost is there, limited customization is there, shortage of supply is there. The point is that after so much of pain, we have one diamond which costs exorbitantly. Everyone wants that diamond as a customer. We are looking at this thing with the perspective of a marketer. Suddenly synthetic diamonds, they come in. The exploration of crafting synthetic diamonds commenced as researchers delved into the feasibility of producing diamonds through the application of high pressure and temperature techniques, as well as the process of chemical vapor deposition. Danziger, PN 2021, February 24, lab grown or natural diamonds. The choice is getting clear for consumers and retailers. Source is given. So, it is from Forbes. Now, these early experiments produced small, low quality diamonds. A significant leap forward occurred during the 1940s when Percy Williams Bridgman, a Nobel laureate in physics, developed a machine that could apply more pressure to materials than had been previously possible. Scientists, they do something which change the face of the market later on. It depends upon how innovators adapt those and how they take it to the market, and that is what we are talking of, marketing of innovations. Bridgman probably did not think of this kind of a change which would help synthetic diamonds at that particular stage. I am saying that he would have visualized that this would happen, this may be the product, but wouldn't have imagined, probably, with all due respect to him, in terms of the expanse or the span of this kind of an innovation which would have been marketed. It is marketing which is actually taking it towards that level. So, but in recent years, the quality of these lab grown diamonds has advanced to the point where it seemed like they could compete with natural diamonds. Yes, they are doing that. This spurred a wave of tech startups to enter the space, including Diamond Foundry, Lucix, and Clean Origin. Even De Beers, the largest diamond mining company in the world, opened its own lab, Lightbox. De Beers is a large organization, in diamond mining. Same, probably similar kind of a story happened with pearls as well. So now synthetic pearls are one of the most adapted innovations which took place. So, and at least people like me don't know the difference much in terms of as far as synthetic pearls or different pearls, or I don't know anything about pearls for that matter. So but again, when you go to places, different places, you would find that they say that this is cultured pearl, this is synthetic pearl. There is different nomenclature to it. You may please serve on that, but it is now common. That is what I would wish to say. Who is buying these gems? The report from April 2021, titled "New Tech Meets Old World: Lab Grown Diamonds, Awareness and Acceptance in Western Europe," reveals a surprising level of awareness, and that is where I want to draw your attention to. So this report is about the awareness about lab grown diamonds. In total, over 77% of the respondents were already familiar with lab grown diamonds before participating in the survey, and 41% indicated that they had purchased and or received jewelry featuring synthetic diamonds. People have started adopting that. Someday you would have a gathering in front of you, everyone wearing diamonds basically, hopefully. So, who is buying these gems? Again, the global market for lab grown diamonds was assessed at $22.3 billion in 2021, with projections indicating it could reach $55.6 billion in 2031. Allied Market Research report is there. This transaction signifies a shift in how younger consumers perceive the value and cultural significance of diamonds. Younger consumers or older consumers, everyone wants a sparkling gem in their neck or finger, that's all. At the end of the day, and they want to be appreciated basically. You are looking good, you are looking beautiful, that's all. That is how things are. So, that is what consumer behavior perspective is. So, the paper says that this transition signifies a shift in how younger consumer perceives the value and cultural significance of diamonds, potentially reshaping the buying habits in jewelry industry for generations to come. Reasons for high level of consumer acceptance included respondents considering lab grown diamonds to be more environment friendly. You see, incidentally things are falling right. Marketing of innovation is being pursued in the right direction, and environment friendly and sustainable as well, and also that they are visually identical to and 30% less costly than natural diamonds. A day would come then they would be much less costly in terms of as far as the whole scenario goes. Now let us go to collate all these things. This was easily adapted. It took some time, it was easily adapted. Pearls were easily adapted. Processes were there since 1940 and researches were being conducted. But when we are talking of things which are centuries old, research of 2-3 decades does not matter at all. And when we are talking of all pervasive market, you see, while talking to you about this, I am visualizing, my bicycle bell having a diamond on it. I don't know. I don't know how well it would seem. So innovation in consumer behavior. Now, you see, let us collate all this, and then I will try to build up the perspective around, again coming back to John T. Gorville paper and building up the story around Everett Rogers, and then Daniel Kahneman, and every contributor we have talked about. So, let's go for a theoretical understanding of marketing of innovation. So, companies that introduce new innovations are most likely to flourish, so they spend billions of dollars making better products. But studies show that new innovations fail at a staggering rate, and that is what we are wondering of, because I have been emphasizing on this continuously that past 2 decades we are the world of innovation actually. So, the goods that consumers dismiss often do offer improvements over existing ones, they do. So, why do not people purchase them, and why do companies keep peddling products that buyers are likely to reject? What are those reasons? How these authors would be contributing in our discussion? What is the remedy to that? What John T. Gorville says, what I have to contribute as far as our understanding goes, I should also be contributing, at large, because after all I am delivering this subject to you. So, now let's break the story, and then I would carry it forward in my next session with a perspective of understanding given by different authors, as well as remedies or let us say methodologies which would help us in understanding consumer behavior more with reference to marketing of innovations. So, new products often require consumers to change their behavior, change or augment, or at least bring in adaptability in the behavior. That means being flexible somehow. As companies know, those behavior changes entail costs. So, what are those types of costs? There is one, transaction cost, of course, then there is a learning cost, then there is an obsolescence cost, and these what generally this consumers, they have these cost elements in their mind at the at least at the back of their mind, and that would definitely bring in resistance as far as the whole scenario goes. So, consumers incur transaction costs such as activation fees they have to pay when they switch from one cellular service provider to another, and that is why probably now the transferability of numbers have converted into, or convertibility is there without any extra cost and so on. People would have decided on that, and marketers would have learned that probably the hard way. They also experience learning costs such as when adapting from natural to automatic automobile transmissions and so on. There are several kinds of learning costs associated with different kinds of processes, even in kitchen appliances, And then even I remember, people used to tell me that when pressure cookers and these kind of things they come in, then there was again a learning factor and learning cost involved with these kind of things. Today you look at your kitchen and you realize that people have been learning so much, but definitely there has been a learning cost element to that. And then obsolescence cost is there basically. You see, every household which switched over from semi-automatic washing machines to automatic washing machines, where are those semi-automatic machines basically? Finally, they were given to someone, or they were just lying there somehow. I have seen old cars lying just like, as far as when people are unable to sell them in time, or they do not want to sell them, they are in love with that basically. And it is definitely a huge resistance in your mind when you want to sell your car which you are using basically. I have personally faced that. So, additionally, individuals encountered obsolescence costs as seen when transitioning from VCRs to DVD, for example. The author talks about VCRs to DVD, but you can take it semi-automatic to automatic machine, then you can take mixers and grinders to food processing units basically, then you can take two flame this burner to 4 this cooking range basically, when you replace that thing with that kind of an element. And even when we started replacing our coolers with ACs basically, that also happened. Then still households, they maintained coolers for a while, and they were using coolers in dry season and ACs in wet season, and then completely somehow they went to ACs and so on, number of coolers getting reduced. In the meanwhile, symphony kind of companies, they came in forcefully and very aggressively in terms of innovating upon coolers, and they marketed that innovation so well that coolers created another kind of a sphere for themselves, but that is another story. So, companies typically take these factors into account in their planning, as they are common aspects of economic switching costs. However, what often goes overlooked by businesses are the psychological costs, and that is where the story begins. Psychological costs which are linked to changing behavior. There is a widespread but frequently disregarded psychological bias that significantly contributes to the failure of many products, as the author says. People irrationally overvalue benefits they currently possess relative to those they do not. That is the larger context to what author talks about. And I would be talking about that marketers also, author has suggested that, and there are many researches wherein marketers also think high of their innovations. Everyone should do that, but again the point is that we have to match it somewhere with the consumers' expectations and our innovations somehow. And you see, I'll as I said, I will keep on building up the story in my next session, wherein I would be taking you towards this psychological biases from both the sides, and then what should be the remedy on as far as our understanding of consumer behavior with reference to marketing of innovations. I will be coming back to you. Stay with me, and till I come back, goodbye.